Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I'm going to rank the 50 US states. I will actually only be ranking 44 of them because there's 6 I have not yet visited. And of the 44 I've been to, I'd say I've spent significant time, upwards of a full day, in upwards of 35 of them. So, I don't think I'm the perfect person to rank these, and I'm surely not going to be able to satisfy everyone's opinions. But I'm going to give my opinions. And we're going to start here with Illinois. What do I think about Illinois? So, like most people, my experience in Illinois does center around Chicago. And I enjoyed Chicago to an extent. Now, I have drove through rural Illinois a few times, and that's always been fairly pleasant. But when I take Chicago out of the equation, it's pretty much just a flyover state. So I'm going to give it a B. Actually, I'm going to give it a C. Maryland. I hate Maryland. I hate driving in Maryland. Baltimore is one of the few cities I've ever been to and not felt safe. I've drove out there quite a few times. I've spent time in DC, and almost always Maryland was the worst part of the drive. Enough said. What do we have next here? Is this Wyoming? No, this is Colorado. Colorado. I'm thinking a B. Colorado is very beautiful. I've spent some time in Denver and Colorado Springs. Then I drove all the way across the state, north and south, and east and west. And I think the highways there are amazing. You get up to like 11,000 feet just on the highway. Some crazy scenic overlooks. Very beautiful. Alabama. Alright, so I know this is probably going to be my first truly controversial placement. But I love Alabama. I've been there many times. I'd say I've been to Alabama upwards of 15, 20 times. I've been central, the big cities, Montgomery, Birmingham. I've been down in the Gulf. I've been in the rural parts over by Talladega. It's beautiful. The people are usually super friendly. It is hot, though, and muggy and kind of rough in the summer times, but I love Alabama. Idaho is the first one here we're going to come across that I have not visited, so I don't have much to say about that. Arkansas. Arkansas gets a D from me for a couple reasons. One, Little Rock. I was only there in Little Rock itself once, and it was just a rough experience. I thought I was going to get robbed. But also, my very first experience in Arkansas ever, I had just crossed into the state, across the state line coming from Missouri. I think I was going south. Anyways, that's not part of the story. I was stopping at a rest area, and I walked in, and there were prison toilets in there. I mean, metal toilets with the sink in the back of it. It was the most unsettling thing I've ever seen. And there was like no doors on the stalls, and it was just right open outside. It felt so weird. Arkansas gets a solid D. I've also not visited California. I basically haven't visited the West Coast and Alaska and Hawaii. Alright, Iowa. Iowa is pretty much a flyover state for me. Yeah, there's some cool stuff. The people were pretty friendly. But there's just not a lot to do there. Or at least I didn't do a lot there. So I'm going to put it in D, but well above Arkansas. Kansas. Well, actually, I have a cool story about Kansas. The first time I ever went to Kansas, I actually walked on foot across the state line. It is the only state I have entered on foot before I drove through it. So just for that alone, I'm going to put it in C, low C. Alright, Kentucky. Yet again, this is very much shaped by my personal experiences. And I live in Ohio, so I've spent quite a bit of time in Kentucky. One of my best friends is from there, and we go down there to hang out at his family's house sometimes. I'm giving it a solid A. I know there's a lot of problems with Kentucky, but when you get off the main path and get off the highway and back on the back roads, it's a beautiful place. Some of the nicest people I've ever met. Louisiana. Oh man, I think we might have our first S here. I love Louisiana. I've been there quite a few times. I've been to New Orleans. I've drove through the northern parts of Louisiana. I've been down in the bayou, the swamps. I drove all the way down to Delacroix, I think it's pronounced. I'm sure I butchered that. Sorry, French people. But yeah, Louisiana's got to be an S for me. It's one of the only places I can go in the United States and feel like I'm in a different country. They speak French down there in some parts. They have a real heavy accent and a drawl. I just love it. Maine. And I got to keep moving along here because I don't want this video to be too long or everyone's going to click off. So let's do a couple rapid fire here. Maine. I spent a little bit of time there. They have the easternmost point in the mainland US. It's actually called West Cuddy Head, even though it's on the east. Cool place. Connecticut, C, pretty much a drive-through state for me. I rode out a hurricane right across the border. What's next here? Massachusetts. Okay, Massachusetts is going to be a solid, it's going to be a high C because I did enjoy Boston. Actually, you know what? I'm going to move it up because I didn't just enjoy Boston. I enjoyed the coast too. I drove all the way down to basically the end of that little Cape Cod, I think it's called. All right, Michigan. So I'm from Ohio. Should I give Michigan an F? Not quite. I'm going to give it a low C. Yes, it's pretty, but I just don't get it, and it takes forever to drive through it. But I do use it to get to Canada. I go through Detroit, so. Ooh, here we have a controversial one. Florida. So a lot of people hate on Florida, and I understand why. But growing up, I spent my summers down there, or part of my summer down there. My dad lived there, and we would go down there and visit. And we got to experience a lot. It was cool. I like the Everglades. I like the rural regions. Miami's okay. I'm going to give it a low B. Indiana. Indiana's basically a flyover state, but they have a cool museum, and I think John Green lives there. So let's give it a C. Delaware. I hate Delaware. Not as much as I hate Maryland. But I've never had a good experience in Delaware. Now, that's not Delaware's fault. It was Amtrak's fault one time, traffic's fault another. But I'm still going to put it very low D. Minnesota. So Minnesota's kind of cool to me. It was the last, or when I was in Minnesota, I touched Lake Superior, which was the last of the Great Lakes I had to visit. Other than that, there wasn't a ton going on. I mean, if you like fishing, I'd go there, but I'm not big into sports fishing like that, so I'm going to give it a low C. Mississippi. Basically Alabama's less intelligent brother. I haven't spent as much time in Mississippi, but the time I've spent there has been good. It's super rural in parts of it, and just almost undisturbed wilderness. I'm going to give it a high D, above Iowa. Montana. So I've only been to Montana once, and it was a bit of a rough experience. It was fun looking back, but I had made a wrong turn. And I was with my grandfather. We had drove out to Mount Rushmore. And long story short, we ended up on a dirt road for about 3 hours. It would alternate between paved and gravel and then dirt. And there was more deer than I have ever seen. But that was a great experience to have. Looking back in the moment, my grandpa wanted to kill me. My phone was out of service. I was running out of gas. But looking back, it was fun. Nebraska is pretty much a flyover state, so I'm going to put it in the mid D. Nevada. Las Vegas. I really liked Las Vegas. I first went there when I was a baby. But then, as an adult, I went back, and it was alright. It was fun. I like to gamble, so I'm going to put this here in low C. Because outside of Vegas, there really wasn't much going on. At some point, I do want to go up and drive Route 50, I think, or Nevada 50. It's been nicknamed the loneliest road in the U.S. Alright, here we have Arizona. I really like parts of Arizona. Navajo Nation's cool, but gas is really expensive. The Grand Canyon's alright. I'm going to give this a C, below Nevada, but actually, let's move Michigan down here. And let's move Connecticut down here. Georgia. Georgia's another one of my favorite states. I've got to move it up here to A tier, right below Kentucky. One of my best friends actually passed away, and that was my first time I went to Georgia as an adult on my own accord. and he passed away in some small little town. I'm not going to say the name of it, but I've been there numerous times since then. The people are always so friendly. The Atlanta's a huge city, and then you have, well, you had the Georgia Guidestones. That was a monument that basically told you what to do in the end of the world. They actually bombed it or blew it up last year. Yeah, I think it was 2022, but it was a cool place. All right, for me, New Hampshire was just a bit of a flyover state. I mean, I enjoyed it, but there just wasn't a lot going on there. It's a small state. Well, it is pretty cool that it only has like 23 miles of coastline, so I'm going to move it up a little bit. New Jersey, D, low D. I do not understand why I, as a grown man, am not allowed to pump my own gasoline. It's weird. I don't get it. I don't want to have to tip the guy $3 just for filling up my gas tank. I'm already paying enough. I don't like it. New Mexico, the land of enchantment. And New Mexico is beautiful. I love the architecture. I'm going to put it right here between Nevada and Arizona. When you come out of the desert, the first thing you see is these beautiful houses painted all different colors. It looked almost like something out of a movie. All right, New York. So this might ruffle some feathers, but I'm putting New York in B. You know, I can't do that to New York. I gotta put it in A. I have a love-hate relationship with New York. I rode out Hurricane Ida on I-95, a torrential downpour. We did not move for 8 hours. We sat on the same spot in the highway for 8 hours, bumper to bumper traffic. No one was moving. The highway was flooded. I think like 11 or 12 people died in New York City. It was horrible. And I was stuck on the interstate. But I also love Manhattan. I love Chinatown. I love that they're such a hub. I love the airports there. And upstate New York is beautiful too. I like Buffalo, Niagara Falls, so I'll put it in A. North Carolina gets a solid C. I'll put it right above Nevada because I've spent a little more time there. It has, oh, let me adjust the picture here. Okay. North Carolina has some great people, some good experiences, but at the end of the day, most of it's flyover state. North Dakota, North Dakota. Where should I put that? I enjoy North Dakota a little bit less than South Dakota, but it was still really pretty. I'm going to put it in C. Ohio, say what you want, but I'm from here. I gotta have a little bit of bias. Yeah, we have our problems. Lots of them. Lots of them. Moving on before I have to get into all of our problems. Oklahoma. Little bit rural. Nothing particularly wrong with it, but nothing particularly right with it. I'm going to put it at the bottom half of C. Oregon is another one I have not been to. And let's just pull Washington out real quick. Alright, there we go. Pennsylvania. You know what? I don't dislike Pennsylvania, but I don't like it. It's a mid-tier C for me. A little bit above Kansas and Illinois. My biggest issue is the toll road to go through there. It's like $200 to cross from one side to the other. But Pittsburgh and Philly are okay, so. The ocean state of Rhode Island. I actually really enjoyed Rhode Island, but I didn't have time to do a lot there. South Carolina. The people are friendly. Yet again, there's nothing really wrong with it to support it going in D, but there's nothing right with it to go in B. It's just C. It's just a state. South Dakota. I loved South Dakota. It's going in high B. Rapid City was weird. I didn't like Rapid City, but we went to the Custer Park. We went to Mount Rushmore. I was going to go to Wounded Knee, but we were pulling up, and this was in the middle of COVID. I shouldn't have been traveling, but I was. And we pull up, and there's a roadblock right on the edge of the Lakota reservation. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, what's going on? And, you know, they always tell you never stop for a roadblock. You never know what's on the other side. So I'm thinking I'm better swing a U-E and turn around. But I'm approaching. There was nobody around. It was just one car. And it was just a lady who was running the checkpoint in and out. And she told me, do not get out of the car. Do not stop at any of our facilities. You are allowed to travel through the Lakota reservation, but you are not granted entry. and I drove straight through. I had to pee so bad, and I could not stop. I just drove straight through the reservation. It was a really eerie feeling. I wish I could describe it better, but getting told, hey, don't get out of the car, you drive straight through this land, it was just strange. All right, we have Missouri. I'm not a huge fan, but they have the St. Louis Arch. I like the Arch, so I'll go a low C. Tennessee. This is another B for me, right above Colorado. I love Nashville, love country music. I almost got mugged in Chattanooga. That was an experience and a half. Memphis is alright, Knoxville. It's just a fun state. Texas. Texas is a low B for me. I gotta put it below Florida. I gotta move Florida up above Alabama, move Colorado down. Yeah, I like this. Texas is a cool state. I did the steak challenge in Amarillo. I spent some time in Dallas. I went to Paris, Texas, saw the Eiffel Tower. Not as cool as the real one, but it's alright. Solid B state. Utah. I hate to do it. Well, I can't put it in a D. It's just another flyover state for me. Vermont. I am putting Vermont in D. I know everyone's like, oh, Vermont, they're so great. I love them. Beautiful. And it was beautiful. But every single person I met in Vermont had the weirdest vibes. I don't know if it was just I was having an off day or what, but it was weird. Virginia. I've spent time in rural Virginia and DC, Virginia. Yes, it has a lot of problems, especially traffic near DC, but overall, it's a pretty cool state. You guys might have noticed by now, but I tend to be a little biased towards the more rural states. I enjoy them a little bit more. And yeah, West Virginia's got to be a low A for me, probably the lowest of the A. I just really enjoy West Virginia. It's peaceful, the people are friendly. There's not a lot of big cities, there's a lot of little towns where everyone knows each other. All right, we have Wisconsin. Yep, that's just another flyover state for me. I mean, I spent some time in Green Bay and Wyoming. I got to give Wyoming the last spot on the lower B tier. It was a beautiful, beautiful state. Desolate, rural. The people were friendly enough. A lot of cowboys out there, so, you know. That's my ranking. I'm going to go through here and see if there's anything I need to adjust. I'm actually going to move Montana up here and North Dakota. I spent a long time driving clear across North Dakota. It was a few days. Do I have anything else I want to put in F, or am I just going to be mean to Maryland? You know what? I'm actually going to put New Jersey in F because I do not understand the gas thing. The people are kind of rude, and I'm sure I'm going to offend someone with this, but it's just like an extension of New York. Controversial take, I know. Delaware, I want to put down at the bottom. Yeah, I think this fits the list. Is there anything else that I want to put in S? Well, I want to put Ohio above Louisiana, and I'm actually going to move Kentucky up just because of my life experiences down there and my buddies. Yeah, so this is my final ranking of the US 50 states. I'm going to put the link of how to make this down in the comments, and you guys can fill one out too. Drop the link or drop the download of yours. Tell me which states you put in S, and tell me why I'm wrong on each and every one of these. Tell me why your home state deserves to be in an S. Thank you guys for stopping by. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing.